Shaping Success with Wes Tankersley is brought to you by Aggressive Marketing Solutions, your solution for all business social media needs. If you need a team of social media marketers and content creators to help you build your brand on social media, text WES 2020 to 541-709-6502 today. Get started building your brand on social media. Success is defined differently by every individual. Some have never even considered what it is. I hope when I get older I'll be successful. What does that even mean? Money? Cars? Big house? On this show, we strive to look at it a little deeper, learning from successful individuals on what they believe success really is and how to obtain it. Everybody, enjoy the show. This is Shaping Success with Wes Tankersley.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to Shaping Success. I'm your host, Wes Tankersley. Today, we're going to be doing bonus coverage with PFENNING's episode that we currently have on the podcast. It's up everywhere. If you are listening to it, please do me a favor, share the episode. Help us to get a few more listens. If you like it, review it, give it a 5-star rating. This helps us grow the podcast and push out the message. Let's talk a little bit about sponsoring the show. If you'd like to sponsor the show, go ahead and click on the link in the description. You can sponsor the last question. Our last question last week was sponsored by GameFace Athletics. They are in Star, Idaho, and they do custom uniforms for people. If you would like to get a hold of them, I'll link their notes. I'll link them in the show notes as well. Give them a call and get your gear today. They actually do all my hats. They've done the shirt that I'm wearing. They do a lot of things for me personally. All right, so let's get talking about Jay. PFENNING is a person that I met through a podcaster group, and I've since kind of left that group, but there's about 4 people in there that have been on the podcast that have helped kind of mentor me, help me to have a better podcast. One of the things that you'll hear probably now is you might hear a little bit of difference of sound in the mic, just because I have figured out that the settings were off, and that was one of the things that we talked about with Jay. It took us a little bit more time to get started with the episode with Jay because he was personally trying to hook up his mic and get it into the interface and make it work a little bit better for the podcast. So we had a little bit of technical difficulty at the start. One of the things that I've noticed through this whole thing is that I breathe in a lot before I talk. So we talked about mic discipline, and so I'm trying to work on that a little bit. Also, I'm going to do a little bit more editing on the videos before I upload them to the podcast, just so that we can make things work a little bit better. So one of the big things that I learned about Jay was that he has this car. It's called an Acura NSX. If you don't know what that is, I've actually seen them a few times, but didn't know a whole lot about him until I met Jay. Jay's Acura NSX is actually been featured in SEMA and lots of magazines and things like that. We posted some pictures of it while we were rolling through the podcast. This is something that we haven't done before, so it was awesome to be able to have people see that, interact with that. And I say podcast, but we do a live show. If you don't know that, we do a Facebook live show every Thursday at 6:30. We do every Thursday at 6:30. There's a live show on Facebook. Links are in my bio on all the social media. At wes.tankersley is where you can find me. If you click on that link tree and the link in the bio, it'll take you to all the platforms that I'm on. I also have a dedicated channel on TVPBN, which is the sponsor of the show. So they actually produce it. If you want your own show, let me know. You can DM me. You can click on the link in the bio, and I will try and help you to be able to get your own show. They do have a discounted rate that they offer. It's about $50 for a half hour. Normally, this is $75 if you mention my name. So with Jay's Acura, one of the goals that he had decided that he was going to do is he's going to try and get into SEMA. And for those of you who do not know, SEMA is an automotive show that happens every year, and Jay wanted to have his car featured in that. It's a huge thing. It's pretty much worldwide. It's in Las Vegas, I believe. And so there's all these car people, car collectors. They introduce a lot of new models and things like that every year. And so that was one of Jay's things. Well, in order to do that, you got to get noticed. You got to figure out how to get noticed and make your name known. So Jay decided that he was going to design this wrap. And he based it off of a Robotech cartoon that he used to watch when he was a kid, and created this wrap on a fighter jet for his car, and it is really freaking cool. That's all I have to say. You need to go check it out. You need to go look up PFENNING and check out all his stuff, and I'll link his stuff in the show notes as well. And if you haven't listened to the full episode, Again, this is bonus coverage. If you haven't listened to the full episode, go check it out. The links are in the show notes as well. So one of the things that Jay wanted to do was make sure that it was authentic as possible. So he had this idea in his mind of what it was going to look like, and he decided that he was going to design it himself. He wasn't going to have someone else do it for him. So he went through the process of designing this wrap for his car, and then he had it wrapped. He went into detail. He went into the fact that he was going to figure out where every screw went, figure out where every single thing to make it look as authentic as possible, like a fighter jet. As far as to getting into the car and having pieces 3D printed next to the seats that have like an ejector switch, all kinds of stuff. It's really crazy the amount of detail he went into, but he had this vision and he wanted to reach that vision. So what he did was he did the research, he taught himself how to do stuff in Photoshop, created this wrap all by himself, and then found a sponsor to help him print it. And once it was printed, he put it on the car and the thing just looks freaking cool. He took it off and he won't do another one. He says he currently has no plans to do another one just because it took so much work and process and design in order to make it look exactly like he wanted. But that was one of the things. He was dedicated to doing that. He wanted to get into SEMA, and he obviously attained that goal by creating this great wrap. So he took some ownership in the process. He made sure that he was creating that for him. Another thing that Jay talked about was one auto movement. He has an Acura NSX, which is kind of like, he talked about how it's kind of in the middle. So like you have your American-made cars, you have your like lower-end cars, and then you have something in the middle. And the NSX is kind of one of those cars that's in the middle. I don't really believe that, but that's kind of what he was saying. It didn't really fit into a category because it was, not American-made. So a lot of these car collectors don't have those. So it's kind of in between. It's not a tuner car. It's not a classic car. It is kind of in between. So anyway, they created this movement called One Auto Movement, which basically is this big blanket one auto. Everyone is one auto, right? So it's a big blanket thing. So if you didn't have a category that you belonged in it. But if you did have a category, you belonged in that as well. They created that, and it's been pretty successful. There's quite a few different places. They're in tons of countries. He was talking about how he used to go on the map and figure out where that was. So that was another thing that he talked about. He also talked about how One Auto does giving and things like that. They do fundraisers, donations, and all that stuff every year. So great way to be invested in your community. And that's kind of what One Auto is all about. The other thing that Jay has personally helped me with is helping others to be successful. And I think that that's something that a lot of people don't do. A lot of people in this world are worried about making themselves successful, making more for themselves. But what they don't realize that is in the end, when you do those types of things, when you help other people out, you're actually helping yourself. He said that he couldn't tell if he was more of a giver or a taker. Well, I think he takes in information, but I don't think he's a taker. And that's kind of one of the things that I've had. He's always been willing to give someone a critique, help them with their podcast, help them with their car, help them with whatever, and never really asked for anything in return other than a little bit of friendship. And that's what I really like about him. When I first had my first kind of interaction with Jay, he was talking about stickers and about Sticker Mule, and he posted this post, hey, Sticker Mule's having this discount. And I asked him a question about it, like how hard is it to do or whatever, or where do you get them or something along the lines of, hey, I want to do this, but what should I do? And he says, just go on Sticker Mule and look at it, and then he just was like, I'm not going to do all the work. I sit here and we think about all these people. I'm not going to do the work for you. The best thing for you to do is do the research. And it was kind of funny because thinking back on that comment, he kind of felt like he was a little bit not nice in his response, and the type of person that I am, I was just looking at it like, hey, it is what it is. I understand exactly where he's coming from and I should do the research. But then I kind of explained, I'm not looking for you to do the work for me. I'm looking for just some information because I would like to create these stickers myself, but I just want to know a little bit more information about it. And he kind of retracted that. But then I told him, I was like, you don't need to be defensive about anything. You don't need to apologize for the way you act to me, because I think that people in this mentality that we live in, the perspective of this whole situation is that anytime anyone says something to you with a little bit of tone in it is a negative thing. And that's not really what it is. It's like taking a critique. It's like learning to be able to understand how people are talking to you and understanding where it's coming from. We live in a world where audio is a big thing right now, right? And so we listen to things. We don't see visual cues. We don't understand where people come from. And as a coach, as a baseball coach, as I previously was, I had the same type of situation with kids my tone wasn't what they understood. They always thought that I was being mean to them, where I was just talking to them. And they had to learn how to understand me and learn how to communicate with me, because I'm intimidating. Here I am at that point, I'm 6'3", I weighed about 300 pounds, big dude, just looking at you, and it feels like you're getting talked down to, even though you're not. So I've had to explain that self to multiple people and say, hey, it's just my voice. It's just the way I talk. It's just the way I am. Also, my dry sarcasm, where you're not sure if I'm sarcastic or not. And so I used to have kids, they used to always, when I was teaching, it was the same thing. Like, is he mad? They can't figure it out. It's really hard to understand. But after a while, you get to know me and you get to understand that that's not really what it is. So anyway, it's all about perspective. And you have to realize that some people communicate in different ways, and it's going to sound a little bit different coming from me than it is from another person, than it is from another person. And I've never taken that myself personal, but that's what a lot of kids do, a lot of parents do, a lot of people who you talk to don't know how to decipher genuine critiques versus, someone being mad. So that's what I really respect about him, is he's willing to talk and he's willing to say and state his opinion. And it's kind of the way that I communicate. So it's awesome to have that kind of interaction with Jay. But, a lot of people sometimes feel that they are guilty, in that interaction, for saying what they mean, for saying what they feel, or communicating in a certain way. And you should never feel that way. I think that you just need to be able to explain to someone how you're conversing, what your interaction type is, and so that they can understand the perspective that you're coming from, being able to communicate. Another thing that Jay talked about was being willing to help other people all the time, no matter what. And to me, that's kind of my goal in life. That's kind of what this show is about. It's showing you that there's more than one way to be successful. We've had lots of guests on the show. We've had veterans. We've had baseball players. We've had teachers. We've had coaches. We've had different people from different walks of life who all feel successful. And that's what it's about, finding that success no matter what. But helping other people get there is what it is about for me. And that's what I like about Jay as well. We're reviewing a lot of podcasts in this group that I was in, and Jay was always willing to review, and is always willing to review other podcasts. And he's always willing to find constructive criticism. No matter what the content is, he'll listen to at least one of those podcasts, whether he likes it or not, and he will review it for you, and he'll try and find something that he can help you with. He's not going to talk onto content for the most part. He will if he needs to, but for the most part, it's more about technical issues. And he's really good about mic stuff. He inspired me to create these soundboards, and I haven't quite got them done yet. So sometimes you hear an echo in here when I'm talking. You'll hear me breathe hard. You'll hear something that, just doesn't sound right. And I'm working on that. But everything that I've got from him, from critique-wise, is from him, or told me, hey, you should go look at this. You should watch this, learn how to do this, work on your mic discipline, and things like that. And they're all normal things that you don't hear unless your voice is magnified. But he's willing to help with that. And that's why the show got started late, was he was so concerned that his sound, and it was, the funny thing about it was he was concerned that he wanted it to sound right, but we couldn't make it work. And so he was getting a little frustrated. So we spent about 45 minutes trying to make that happen so that it could sound right, because his mic interface was a little bit different. The way that he records his show is basically all audio, where mine is all video, right? So I take the audio off the video. And once he got it figured out, I realized that I had a mic issue. I realized that I wasn't actually using mine, that it was recording out of my AirPods, which drove me nuts. So we had to spend another 5 minutes to get that squared away so that we could hear out of my mic and it sounded proper. But that leads to a lot of other things in a lot of constructive ways. And one of the things he talked about was everyone has a podcast, and what's going to set you apart from the next podcast, what's going to make it different for you. And so that's kind of the things that we think about, we talk about, we discuss, is how you are going to make what you currently have better. And that's one of the things that I like about him, is he always strives for making things better. I used to have a coach that said you can't really give 100, you can't give more than 100% because that's all you got. But really what I think that meant was, when you measure a goal, you can't do more than 100, right? And if you listen to Grant Cardone, he talks about 10xing things, and you need to set your goal higher than what it is, higher than what you decide it's going to be. So if you decide you're going to, a simple one is talking about money. Not money doesn't mean success, but say you're going to set a goal as I need to make $100 today. You're probably going to make 50 to 75, because that's your goal. But if you say, I'm going to make $1,000 today, you're probably going to make 500. So that's kind of the thing. Set your goals higher than what you expect. You never work as hard as you possibly can because you're always trying to just set it at the bare minimum. So that's one of the things that I came from him. I believe, I agree. I don't know that you can give more than 100%, but what you can do is you can set your goal higher than 100% so that you reach a higher goal. And that's pretty much all I've got today with this bonus episode. I want you to think about those things that I talked about. Check out the full episode. It's up on Apple Podcasts right now. It's gaining traction. It's up on every podcast platform, wherever you listen to podcasts. The videos are on Facebook. The videos are on IG if you want to watch the video. But wherever you can, check it out. It's a great interview. Jay's a great guy, and I'd love to have you listen to it. If you like it, share it, rate it, review it. Help me to grow the podcast. If you don't like something, DM me. Let me know why. Let me know what you think I can fix. If you want to be a guest on the show, let me know. I'm always looking for people who come from different types of success and how they view that. If you want to sponsor the last question, which like I said, we have a last question sponsor every week. All you got to do is go to the link in the show notes that says Shaping Success. Donate to the show. Donate $5. Donate $1. Donate 10. Whoever has the biggest donation is going to be the next last question sponsor. And the last question is how do you shape your success? So until next time, I would like to see or challenge you to go find the shape of your success. Have a great day.
Shaping Success with Wes Tankersley, brought to you by Aggressive Marketing Solutions. If you need a team of marketers to help you with social media, all you need to do to start is text Wes 2020 to 541-709-6502. 541-709-6502. That is Aggressive Marketing Solutions. Have a great day. See you next time.